Good morning. Good morning. How are you this morning? I don't think I'll ever I don't think I'll ever get to where it's not so jarring when I go live. I just want to finish one thing up here and and just get to it. Okay. Okay, we got everything. Do we have sound? The other day in my intro to my podcast, I lost sound and I have no idea why. When I checked on it, it was like there was nothing wrong. But kind of every day I have something tech wise that goes wrong or some something to overcome before I do a live stream. And I've been good. Like yesterday, I wanted to change all kinds of camera settings before the live stream started. Um, I've learned not to do these things now, but I haven't learned to not hit. I've not learned to hit record when I'm supposed to start. So it's very odd. I use Streamlabs. If anybody wants to, if any real estate agent out there is like, hey, what are you using to stream to the masses? Well, I use Streamlab. I'd probably use StreamYard if I could ever get some traction on bringing people on the show, but I'm kind of busy right now. This weekend, I'm going to show at least 3 different buyers property, and some of these are going to be like more than half the day, so it's just going to be crazy. That's all there's to it. Got a soccer tournament coming up down in Arkansas next weekend. Don't think I'm going to make it. I'm on I think 46th consecutive live stream. And my stats yesterday on Google were not great. The weird thing about it, I look at like maybe 3 or 4 metrics. And at least one of those is always like bad. Like one will be good and then one will be bad. And the bad will always be, always kind of tinge the statistics is bad. Paint the statistics is bad. And so sure enough, yesterday it was watch hours were down, but the impressions were up, or they were holding from what they'd been recently, which was good. And then unfortunately, the opposite happened today. Is there was great watch hours, and then there was terrible impressions. And to be honest, like I don't believe the numbers. I say that because I had all these views about 2 days ago, and my watched hours for the day was like terrible. Yeah. And I mean they were like actual views. People spent time to watch the entire thing, or it wasn't like someone flipping on and just turning it off right away. So, as you know, it takes me a while to get into the show. I don't know, should I start the show and just not tell you guys, and then just go on? I don't know. There's something about being live that makes things interesting. The other day I was searching for something, and one of my friends was watching, and she pointed out there was something that came up that could have had the potential to just turn the stream into run it right into the gutter, and it didn't affect me in a negative way. Like I was okay with it. I'm not. I guess I don't know how to say it. I'm not worried about embarrassing myself. I mean, to me, streaming to no one for months, that's embarrassing as it is. Like, it doesn't get worse than that. Um, but here we are. And I know the weird thing is, I know you guys watch You're working. Obviously, my audience is very intelligent. Obviously, my audience works during the day, and they have like literally 2 hours at night to watch something on YouTube, and I just happen to be that person they watch. But there's no way they can be on at 9 in the morning and chat. And I've thought about it, like, what if I chat later at night? Well, I get stuck in these spots. Do you want consistency? Do you want a stream every day, or do you want, once every blue moon, whenever I can have the mental faculty at 9 o'clock at night to put on a stream? There's a real question, like, should I? If I don't watch any YouTube, I don't get any news. I don't get any enjoyment. So, like, if I came on late at night, I don't before I went to bed. First of all, mentally, I don't know if I'm going to be with it. Because I get when I get tired, I get quiet. I stop talking. I don't know if other people are like that, but I'm that way. And so a stream right before I go to bed probably isn't the best use of my time. Or yours, to be honest. I mean, since I'm here, I got the oil change in the Murano yesterday for my wife, but I didn't get the lights for the Christmas decorations outside taken down. I'm supposed to do that today. If you've been watching my podcast episodes lately, I'm in that spot where I'm not finding any sort of muse, and so I'm trying different things. Like I pulled an article. I had like 2 articles in a row about firing your agent, which is not what I want people to do unless their agent's terrible. Yesterday I tried to write one myself. So I don't know if you'll enjoy it or not. It's not hard. It's not hard to find content, but it's hard to find like a new story. Like everything seems to be the same. For example, like people shoot their neighbors' animals all the time with guns, with crossbows. And while it was an interesting story the first time, like the 70th story this year about someone shooting their neighbor's pet, it gets a little old. Like I don't really want to cover that anymore. And then I don't think on YouTube, I don't think covering realtor violence against real estate agents, like I don't think that's big on people's like view list at night. I don't think they sit down and say, I haven't been, I had a tough day at work, but I'm going to go and I'm going to watch a video about a real estate agent getting murdered, attacked, beaten to near death. That'll be at an open house. That'll be uplifting. That's just what I need before I go to bed. So I'm in this space. And the other thing is, like, I don't like to repeat myself. And I've got a real fear of, they talk about it, you need to find a niche on YouTube so that the algorithm knows what you're about, so they can send it to the masses. They being the little algorithm, and I don't mean little. I mean it's huge. But the point is if I only talk about home buying or home selling, I'll just end it because it's just terrible. I don't want to be that person. I don't want you to think like, hey, I'm buying a home in Arkansas. I should watch a video from John about selling or buying. No. Just watch a video from John anyway. And if it happens to be about buying or selling, that's good. Because things change. We talk about creating evergreen content on YouTube, which is content that is always timely. Well, we're in the best housing market for sellers that we've been in since I've been alive. So I mean, that's not going to continue forever, right? Or do we think that? one of the experiences that being a parent has shown me is, like, the youngest was born and Barack Obama became president, okay? And so the first 8 years of her life, we had the same president. And I feel like the coverage was pretty positive on Obama, generally. So when Obama was no more, she just didn't understand, like, oh my God, you mean we don't have the same leader? It was really shocking to her. And like, oh, when a Republican gets in the presidency, then the press just loses their stuff. Yes. And for however long the Republican president is there, you will get article after article after article after article of just hate. If the guy's breathing, that's cause for an article to be written about how terrible Republicans are. And the most amazing thing to me is that Republicans have never figured that out. It's been going on since I've been alive. And it's like they don't know. They don't know that they're just being crushed. They just don't get it. So, anyway, the point being is, we have this, like, continuation, like, and we don't know when it ends. So the continuation being Obama's presidency being 8 years, we knew when that would end, but we don't know when the hot market for sellers will end. I will take a moment to just try to explain something. Maybe I explained it yesterday. To be honest with you, my days kind of mixed together. This is what I'm seeing as a real estate agent in South County, St. Louis, Missouri. This is what I'm seeing. I have many buyers, okay, which I'm thankful for, right? If you have no buyers and no sellers, you don't make any money, right? But what my problem is I have a lot of buyers. I suspect other agents have a lot of buyers. And let's just use numbers. So, and these are not real numbers. These are just ones I'm using. Let's say that there's 100 buyers in the marketplace for a specific home in a specific area, okay? And let's say that a house goes up that meets everybody's criteria of those 100, okay? So they all put an offer in. Well, only one person gets the house, okay? So there's 99 buyers that wanted that house that now need to get another house. The next time that type of house comes to market, maybe 4 weeks from now. And so in that time frame, another 50 buyers come into the marketplace. So when this next house goes up, there's 149 potential buyers for it. I mean, that's the level of scarcity in homes for sale, which is what drives the prices. Okay. We're going to talk about inflation in a minute, but just understand that if you had no buyers, prices would come down. They have to, because no one's going to buy them. The concessions will be greater on the seller side. I'm in a strange spot as a real estate agent. When we talk about a hot market, it's almost always biased to the seller. If you're a buyer right now, your life is terrible trying to buy a house. Terrible. Worst, like, think about, how about this? You just graduated college, you have a job, okay? You got student loan debt. You want to go buy a house. The house that you could have bought last year for $200,000 is now $325,000. That's, as a buyer, that's not good. That's not good. And the seller doesn't care. The seller doesn't care at all. That's why I'm trying to understand the model of Carvana, okay, in real estate, because it's essentially the same. Carvana just buys a bunch of cars. They don't really care. They acquire inventory, okay? And I'm sure they sell the cars, but they're just trying to get all the cars they can. And it's not a bad thing. They pay more than anybody else, okay? So they may lose money on a couple deals, but they'll make money, and they're being funded by such a great amount of money behind them that it doesn't really matter. I mean, you say, well, that's not true. Look at what happened in Zillow's iBuying program. It did seem to matter at the end when they lost $430 million in a quarter. But the iBuying thing is the same way. I've recently experienced that in a certain part of town where some of my buyers are looking, that one of the iBuyers has come in and bought many, many properties. Now, the people that sold those properties to the iBuyers didn't care. They were just happy to be rid of the property. They didn't feel the need to use an agent to sell their property, which is, that's up to them. But now you've got this company sitting on a bunch of houses. And it's already scarce supply, so now you've got somebody just sitting on these houses, and it's just like you're adding another layer to the buyer-seller equation. Because it used to be you have a seller and you have a buyer, right? And it was a person, most likely. Now you have entities buying and selling homes and stockpiling them. Okay. There are people in the real estate industry that want to destroy the relationship between agents and the buyers and sellers that they represent, and they feel that if they do that, then then this will be good for the consumer. This is true. This is not me making this up. That the consumer will benefit when they don't need to pay agents. They'll just go ahead and sell. Then, by the way, you've always been able to sell your house on your own. You've always been able to have a buyer come and buy a house. You don't have to have an agent. So why is it that people choose to have agents? Well, there must be some need for them, or they wouldn't exist. Okay, and believe me, the efforts that people are taking to get rid of us are significant. I mean, going to court, different political groups trying to shut us down. I mean, it's all out war on real estate agents all the time. Buyer side, seller side. I mean, are we going to go the way of the travel agent? I don't know. I'm in a position where I'm 44 years old. I have my own brokerage. The business will change before I leave. And it's a very, very competitive industry. Very, very competitive. When people see what you can make, the potential, it brings people in. But the potential to make that money versus actually making that money are two different things. People look at work in different ways. So someone may say to me, hey, you just drive around and show people property all day. That's not working. Right? Hey, you just stick a sign in the yard. That's not working. But that's not really the business that I conduct. That's not how it works. And it goes back to this conversation we've had oftentimes what's the definition of a good agent? It's one that has many deals. It's not one that does a good job for their clients. They can correlate, okay? But if you don't have any deals, you can't make any money and you can't exist. So, I don't know. That's where I'm at on the real estate game right now. I've got to show a couple of houses this week. This weekend, probably going to be slammed. And it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. So now you know from an agent's perspective what's going on. Let's get into Google searches because I have lots of stuff to go over today. And I wanted to just kind of highlight stuff. So this had, let me see. It's had 100,000 searches. Someone died. That was the top search. I'm not interested in doing deaths all the time. So this is from space.com. It's that I think asteroid was was what people were searching. Now, I don't know how they knew to search for it. It says a 3,400 foot wide asteroid will make a safe flyby of Earth next week. This is from space.com. The space rock will pass by more than 1 million miles from our planet on January 18th. Okay. It says a huge asteroid will safely whiz by our planet next week. The asteroid, known as 7482, will make its closest approach to our planet on January 18th at 4:51 Eastern Standard Time, according to a table from the Center for Near-Earth Object Studies, managed by NASA at the agency's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California. Okay. It says a 3,400 asteroid will zoom by our planet at the equivalent of 5 lunar distances at its closest approach, the table indicates, at a top speed of nearly 12 miles per second. Okay. So think about 12 miles per second. Like, I mean, that's moving. Like fast. 12 miles per second. Think about that. I mean, man, that's moving. At this distance, this will be a safe flyby and the closest one the asteroid will make of Earth in the next 200 years. So that's the news. Then it goes into what an asteroid is. It's a space rock that are leftovers of early solar system where our neighborhood was filled with objects like it. Tens of thousands of asteroids exist, but only a subset of them pass close enough to Earth to be termed near-Earth objects. The 7482 flyby, thus, is very typical of this several dozen or so typical Earth flybys reported by the media every year. Any asteroids or comets that come within 1.3 astronomical units, or 120.9 million miles, qualify as an NEO. That's a near-Earth object. The agency has a mandate from Congress to seek and report at least 90% of all of NEOs 460 feet and larger by the end of 2020, following up from an earlier request to find even larger objects. While NASA hasn't yet fulfilled that goal, it does have a network of partner telescopes on the ground and in space continuing to work to find and monitor NEOs. We have no impending asteroids to worry about now, but the agency continues looking and is testing defense technology to address any future threats. NASA recently launched a mission called Double Asteroid Redirection Test that will seek to alter the path of an asteroid's moonlet in the fall of 2022. Another mission called OSIRIS-REx, Origins Spectral Interpretation Research Identification Security Regolith Explorer, is en route from asteroid Bennu with an asteroid sample which may help future asteroid composition studies and aid defense measures. As for seeking out new asteroids, NASA is aimed to putting dedicated mission into the space by 2026. The agency says that in the decade after launch, the NEO surveyor should meet the congressional request to seek out 90% of all NEOs 460 feet or larger. So that's from space.com. There's an asteroid passing within 1 million miles of our planet. I was just checking to see if anybody put anything in the chat. I don't need this particular window open. Closing it. Okay. All right. Well, so then we're good, right? Well, now all of a sudden, on a different channel, different piece of news, it says potentially hazardous asteroid bigger than the Empire State Building to pass Earth. Now, what happened? Just a minute ago, we had a nice safe asteroid that's going to be passing by. And then this is the way, I just want you to see the way it's written. Like, look, we talked about rockstar habits for successful agents. I don't know that anybody's like sitting there worried about an asteroid hitting the Earth. Like, to me, it seems like we got bigger problems than me selling a home if an asteroid hits the Earth. Right? I don't know. And I think I should just concentrate on just, trying to help buyers and sellers. But when I read stories like a potentially hazardous asteroid bigger than the Empire State Building to pass Earth, well, that doesn't sound good. That sounds like something I should worry about. The asteroid was first discovered in 1994. It's about 3,280 square feet or 3,280 feet in diameter and is moving at 43,754 miles per hour. So we talked about the other one was moving 12 miles per second. This is now moving 43,754 miles per hour. It's the same asteroid. While it will be close to Earth, it will safely pass, even though NASA is categorizing the asteroid as potentially hazardous. Potentially hazardous asteroids are defined as being more than about 456 feet in size, with orbits that bring them as close as 4.6 million miles of the Earth's orbit around the sun. Now, this is the same news we read on space.org or com, remember. But it's just in the way it's framed that makes things different. It's potentially hazardous because that's the classification that NASA uses. But if you put that as in quotes in the first thing in the article, my gosh, now I'm worried. Also, changing the miles per hour from 12 miles per second to 43,754 miles per hour, that to me changes things. Makes it seem like it's faster. It says back in July, an asteroid hurtled past the Earth at 18,000 miles per hour. That's not that fast, considering that this other one is 43,000 miles per hour. That asteroid was about the size of a stadium or 3 times the size of the Taj Mahal. It said in March, the asteroid Apophis, roughly the size of 3 football fields, passed by Earth approximately 10.4 million miles away, nearly 44 times as far away as the moon. So, like, all I'm trying to point out here is that, like, depending on how you read things or where you get your news, your impression can be vastly different. Again, 100,000 searches on Google. I don't know how that many people saw it, but how many people were searching out of fear? And really, what were they searching for? Like asteroid to hit the Earth? I just don't even understand who would have the foresight to do that in 100,000, let's say, people. And that's, by the way, that would be more than what's usual. Like maybe people search it every day. I don't know. I thought that was interesting. 100,000 searches. Now, next thing, inflation. I wanted you to see the difference between the AP story and a story for somebody that's, you know, like a story from somebody that's on the center right versus if you think the AP is center, you're confused. Okay. It says, let's look at the highlight. Inflation at 40-year high pressures consumers, Fed and Biden. Okay, so we're all in this together. It says, from the AP, inflation jumped at its fastest pace in nearly 40 years last month, a 7% spike from a year earlier, that is increasing household expenses, eating into wage gains, and heaping pressure on President Joe Biden and the Federal Reserve to address what has become the biggest threat to the U.S. economy. Prices rose sharply in 2021 for cars, gas, food, and furniture as part of a rapid... Now, see, that's debatable. As part of a rapid recovery from the pandemic recession. Vast infusions of government aid and ultra-low interest rates helped spur the demand for goods, while vaccinations gave people confidence to dine out and travel. Sometimes when I read articles, it's like they're on a different planet. As Americans ramped up spending, supply chains remained squeezed by shortages of workers and raw materials, and this magnified price pressures. Labor Department reported Wednesday, by the way, do you believe any government agency that reports numbers at this point, like the Congressional Budget Office? Do you believe any of those numbers? I mean, they're very bright people, don't get me wrong. But these numbers are massaged for people. that a measure of inflation that excludes volatile food and gas prices jumped 5.5% in December, also the highest in decades. Overall inflation rose 0.5% from November, down from 0.8% the previous month. Okay. Price gains could slow further as snags in the supply chains ease, but most economists say inflation won't fall back to pre-pandemic levels anytime soon. I always worry about when you say like most economists, because in theory, isn't that just like a herd mentality? Like each individual economist sat there, didn't know any other data, just had their own data in front of them. Would they think the same way? U.S. inflation pressures show no sign of easing. It hasn't been this high since the days of Thatcher and Reagan. We could be close to the peak, but the risk is that inflation stays higher for longer. How does he know that we're close to the peak? High inflation isn't only a problem for the U.S. Oh, but what's the reserve currency in the world? So maybe if we have inflation, so will everyone else. Not that I'm a real estate broker, St. Louis, Missouri. Maybe I'm wrong. In the 19 European countries that use the euro currency, yes, but what do they use as the reserve currency? Inflation rose 5% in December compared with a year earlier, biggest increase on record. Companies large and small are adapting as best they can, a sentence that's not necessary because everyone knows that. What would be the alternative if you're in business? Companies large and small are adapting as best they can. What are they going to do? Not adapt? Companies are not adapting to the inflation and therefore going out of business. Is that the sentence you want to write? Even if they are adapting, they can go out of business. There's a lady that owns a bakery in the Minneapolis area. She said she plans to raise prices for cookies because of surging ingredient costs. Her basic cookies were priced at 99 cents each, $1 per cookie, while premium cookies were selling for $1.50 each. But this woman said she will have to jack up the prices of her basic cookies to the premium price. We have to make money. We don't want to lose our customers, but I think we might. Like, to me, this is not to be offensive, but like, show me an industry, like show me the fertilizer industry, or show me some sort of petrochemical industry and what their input costs were and what they are now. Don't screw around with cookies. Like, I don't need it. I want to see what's really going on, because that's the problem. I mean, no offense. If John Deerwood Realty goes out of business tomorrow, there's still going to be real estate agents. The economy is still going to roll forward. Okay, no one cares. Okay, if this bakery goes out of business, maybe not be able to buy a premium cookie for $1.50, but we're going to be okay. All right. But we aren't going to be okay when there's these huge companies that are really, having issues with inflation, because they're going to try to pass that on to their business consumers, and then they have to raise prices, and then the spiral just continues, which is bad. But the Fed says that they'll fix it. Let me just say this. If the Fed is the cause of the inflation, okay, if they get the credit for the fix, do they also get the scorn for the cause? Businesses struggling to hire have hiked pay, but rising prices for goods and services have eroded those income gains for many Americans. Lower income families have felt it the most, and polls show that the inflation has started displacing even the coronavirus as a public concern. That, to me, is fascinating. First of all, I don't trust polls. Based on the manipulation I've seen, I will never trust a poll, and I will trust pollsters, okay? But just general polls and using that as a gauge for anything is fraught with difficulty. I don't ever answer my phone. Like my personal phone, if I don't know who you are calling, I'm not going to answer it. And I'm certainly not going to tell you what I think about the economy or anything else. Okay? How many people are out there like me? Probably more than 10. Probably more than 10. One I wanted you to see here is lower income families have felt it the most, and polls show that inflation has started displacing even the coronavirus as a public concern. But let me just, on the lower income families, I think we have this assumption that there's all these wealthy people in the United States. And relatively to the rest of the world, yes. Yes. Relatively so. But if you think you can just, you don't want to mess with the lower income families, okay? They're already struggling. Okay? And so this is like putting like inflation and minimizing it or saying it's just for poor, it's just like putting your thumb in their eye. And they don't like that. Okay? Just putting it out there. Like, you want your healthy middle class, you want your healthy, like, I hate to say it, like lower income family, you want them to believe that they can get out of their situation at some point. You want them to have hope. You do not want them to feel like somebody's sticking a thumb in their eye. That's like the worst possible thing you can do. United States hasn't seen anything like it since the early 80s. Back then, Fed Chair Paul Volcker responded by pushing interest rates to painful levels. But it was kind of interesting in the 1980s. Like, so what happened in the late 1970s? Like, what happened then? Why is there inflation? It says Paul Volcker responded by pushing interest rates to painful levels. Prime rate for banks' best customers hit 20% in 1980. And it sent the economy in a deep recession. But Volcker succeeded in taming inflation that had been running at double digits year-over-year levels for much of the 1979 to 1981 years. Okay. So we decided we want to have inflation now. It says high inflation has put President Biden on the defensive. His administration, echoing officials at the Fed, initially suggested that price increases would be temporary. These people have no idea what they're doing. And by the way, if it was a Republican, they'd still have no idea what they're doing. Please, it's not a political thing. Now that inflation has persisted, she persisted. Biden and some congressional Democrats have begun to blame large corporations. Yes, it's their fault. You never see someone in a bad spot blame themselves. Like, he could have easily blamed the government, but he would never do that. Because that would be acknowledging failure in the government, and we don't do that. Government is never the problem. They say meat producers and other industries are taking advantage of pandemic-induced shortages to drive up prices and profits. But even some left of center economists disagree with that diagnosis. So, no, I'm going to give you a window into my life. I haven't had a beef steak since at my house. I haven't had it since my birthday, which was in June. I just don't have the money. I mean, I know other people may have the money for the things they want, but I mean, I can't buy steaks for my entire family and still make it. Now, my lower middle class, I guess, but man, I haven't been able to buy beef. I mean, we can buy hamburger, we could buy steaks easily, but the price to pay for the steaks is so high that it's like, ugh, it just makes you sick not wanting to even eat it. This has been true though. I mean, the corona's really killed beef prices. I mean, and I don't know it's just corona, by the way. There could be other factors, but it's been tough. I mean, who doesn't like a good steak? Makes me a bad person? Okay. On Wednesday, the president issues a statement arguing that the drop in gas prices in December and a smaller increase in food costs showed progress. Yeah, I mean, you can send out statements all you want to. Doesn't make it true. One trend experts fear is a wage price spiral. That happens when workers seek more pay to offset higher costs, and then companies raise costs further to cover the higher pay. On Tuesday, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, whatever happened to Yellen? And I don't mean to be, I thought she was going to be in charge of all this. that not happen? I don't know. I'm not. Is she okay? Anyone checked? I'm not complaining. I just don't know. I haven't looked it up. Told a Senate panel that he has yet to see evidence that wages are broadly driving up prices across the country. Well, that's nice. He'd be the last person to see it. The biggest driver of inflation, according to economists, are mismatches between supply and demand. I mean, okay. It says used car prices have soared more than 37% over the past year because a shortage of semiconductors has prevented auto companies from making enough new cars. Well, look at graphics cards. Can't buy a new computer. Supply chain constraints have driven furniture prices nearly 14% higher over the past year. Shoppers are feeling the pinch all around, it says. This woman, an occupational therapist, says she can no longer throw extra canned food, boxes of cereal, or baker items into her shopping cart. I'm trying to stick to my list and buying the things that are on sale. Because she couldn't, this was fascinating, because she couldn't find a good deal on a used car, she recently bought a new Mazda, spending $5,000 more than she planned. So I don't even understand that. Like, the difference between a used car for her and a new car was $5,000. I would take that every day. I would buy a new car every day if that was the difference in price. It says inflation can ease as the Omicron wave fades and Americans shift more of their spending to services such as travel, eating out, and moviegoing. That would reduce the demand for goods and help clear supply chains. And I don't even understand that paragraph. You think more people going out and buying more things is going to relieve the supply chain? You're not with the program. I mean, there's no way. But some higher prices, such as rent, could be proved to be stickier. Yes, rental costs have accelerated since the summer, rose 0.4% in December, the third consecutive monthly increase. That's significant because housing costs make up 1/3 of the government's consumer price index. And it's interesting they say housing costs. Does that include home sales? Because it sure has risen more than 0.4%. Month over month? Yes. I guess you don't have that data yet, though. That's why I say that he'd be the last person to know, is because by the time you see the data, I mean, we use real estate data from November and January. So you're 2 months later. I mean, I say that, maybe 1 month, but you don't see it when it happens. People on the ground see it when it happens, but that guy, the head of the Fed, is not on the ground. He has no idea what's going on. Like with real people, he reads reports, writes some things, and then goes home. So he has a cigar. Maybe he checks out the golf course. Like, hey, maybe we should go golfing tomorrow. He's not tied into the regular person. They're going to raise rates, it says, more aggressively. A rate increase would make borrowing a home or a car more expensive and therefore help to cool off the economy. Yep, it would. In theory. We'll see. I mean, do you remember that they raised rates right before the housing collapse back in the day? 2007? So, some economists and members of Congress fear the Fed had acted too slowly to head off inflation, and this could eventually force an even sharper rate increase that could damage the economy. Now, what if they can't raise the rates? What if people have gotten used to easy money, and if they raise the rates, it will cause all these people that are banking on easy money to just blow up? Then what? That would be a problem. Republicans in Congress and even some liberal activists say Biden deserves at least some credit for, or some of the blame for high inflation, arguing that the financial rescue package he pushed through Congress last March added significant stimulus to an already strengthening economy. Whenever the government says stimulus, just get worried. It means you're not going to get any of it. So that was the AP, which I'm telling you is not a centrist publication at this point. So we go to Washington Examiner, not centrist either. But let's see what they have to say. Same news. The inflation rose. Okay, so here goes. Inflation rises 7% in December, highest in 4 decades. Consumer prices increased 7% in the 12 months ending in November, the fastest clip since 1982, solidifying inflation as the greatest threat to President Joe Biden's agenda. He's no offense. I mean, just from political perspective, Joe Biden's already got issues. Okay. One of those issues is in the Senate, he's got no majority for his policies. If he had policies that the Senate would go along with, then maybe he could get something done. But he doesn't have a majority in his policies. He may have, and it's the same thing. Look, when Republicans take over, let's just say the Republicans run everything, okay? They'll still screw it up. This idea that because you're a Democrat, okay, and you want all the Democrats to be in charge, and that's going to fix all your problems, that's a faulty one. It's the same way on the Republican side. It's not how it works. They never do it right. They never get to the end, where you think it's going. It says, the much anticipated numbers reported by the Bureau of Labor Statistics when they revealed the extent of the inflation that has afflicted the country as it recovers from the pandemic. High inflation has damaged Biden's popularity and sapped support for his plans for new major spending programs and tax hikes. This crushing report shows Democrat spending has pushed Bidenflation to achieve the highest prices in 40 years, killing family budgets and wiping out 3 years of wage gains, said a Republican. The persistent inflation has led the Federal Reserve to gear up to raise interest rates this year for the first time since 2018. This year could see several interest rate hikes, the first of which might occur in March. So look, we're seeing this. Everyone's saying March, okay? So it's going to happen in March because that's what everybody says. They're projecting it. The Federal Reserve chairman testified before the Senate and told lawmakers that the economy is now in good enough shape for pandemic-related stimulus to be pared back and for interest rates to be raised. This comes after months of unprecedented economic support by the Fed. Ugh, it's bad. This is a bad thing. When the annual rate of inflation begins with a 7, there's immense pressure on the Federal Reserve to get it under control, supply chain issues notwithstanding. New inflation numbers come on the heels of a worse than expected December jobs report last week. The economy added just 199,000 new jobs in November, below forecasts, although the unemployment rate dipped below 4% for the first time since pandemic began. Now, they say full employment is not 0%. It's actually around between 4 and 5%. So it seems like from this statistic and my general knowledge of economics, which is not, I'd put it at least good high school level. You've got more jobs than we can have people that employ them. And the only possible way to get that right is raising wages. And that doesn't happen by order of the federal government. So, and if you have employers that don't have job openings, then you really have a problem. It's bad. This is not as easy as you would think. Like if you said, hey, John, since you seem to know high school economics, why don't you get up there and fix it? Right? Yeah, there's so many factors that are causing this problem that I don't think that you're fixing it. Like you put a new Fed chair there, not going to fix it. Put a new president there, not going to fix it. Put a new Congress and new Senate there, not going to fix it. Talk to the leaders of great large corporations, global corporations, not going to fix it. I mean, this is a combination of a number of different problems, and hopefully it can be fixed. In this sentence here, the combination of high inflation and weaker than expected job creation has some economists worried about the country's long-term recovery. Well, from the COVID pandemic. Well, I think that how would you define long-term? Would you define it over a period of 50 years, 100 years, 4 years, 2 years? You know, I mean, I think we have to accept that things go up and things go down. Don't have to like it. And then this is in the Washington Examiner, another factor causing uncertainty in the economy is the Omicron variant of the virus, which has completely overtaken the country and sent cases, hospitalization, and deaths soaring to record highs. Is that true? Is that true? Anyway, that's two different ways to look at the inflation. Let's get to some houses, right? We're a real estate company. Now, I do care about inflation deeply. By the way, 50,000 searches on that. I care about inflation because it affects the housing market significantly. Kentucky Select Properties. We're going to Louisville, Kentucky. We got Kentucky Select Properties, Lenahan Sotheby's International Realty, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Hoagland Commercial Realtors. I don't know what they're doing. Remax Properties East, Lenahan Sotheby's. So they got 2. They got 3 Lenahan Sotheby's. And that's it. Commercial Kentucky? No, that's a different thing. Okay, so let's look at this house. $5.75 million, 13-acre lot, 4-bedroom, 4.5 bath. 44 pictures. Love it. Love it. Built in 1929 with a 4-car garage. Let's look and see. No, I don't want to see that yet. I want to see the history. Just listed. Listed in November. Seldom does a stately home with this history and caliber become available, and here it is. Secluded on 13 acres of gorgeous mature trees almost adjacent to the Louisville Country Club, in the heart of the Mockingbird Valley area, this is truly a treasure. If these walls could talk, they would take you through the Great Depression, World War II, and the fabulous 50s, and all the decades following, stalwart right up to today. This grand dame, so it's a woman house, has had a thoughtful and professional skin-in renovation over the past few years to bring her front and center into the lifestyle of the next generation. Designed by E.T. Hutchins and built in 1929, she awaits her next steward. The original specification book still exists, citing materials and techniques used in construction. Privacy abounds with views of nature from every enormous window, including the arched French doors in the solarium. There are 4 fireplaces on the first floor, a walnut-paneled library, alfresco porch with arched brick openings, and a wraparound terrace to enhance the large, comfortable main rooms. An elevator has been added for access to 3 levels. The 3rd floor has been heated and cooled, waiting for your ideas for its new purpose and use. Huh. So up in there is the 3rd floor, I'm guessing. Roof looks kind of terrible, but maybe that's just the picture. So we got that. Okay. Okay. The furniture's terrible for me. Ooh. Nice kitchen. The kitchen's been updated and looks nice. I don't like wallpaper. You know what I think of wallpaper? Nice bathroom. I mean, that's nicely done. I agree. Like they've updated certain rooms. And that's your pedestal stink. Pedestal stink. This home looks comfortable, doesn't it? Like, oh, there's a nice washer and dryer on the 2nd floor. I do like this. I do like the outdoor spaces. You know, you hear me say it all the time, but I do. Nice. And nice use of a drone photography. I mean, good. Good listing. Hope it sells. 69 days. Hope it sells. Okay, goodness. Being aggressive. This one's $4.1 million. 6-bedroom, 7 baths, 19,000 square feet, 4.85 acre lot. Different zip codes. And Would you substitute your 7 acres for like 11,000, 12,000 square feet? Tough question. Tough question. 50 pictures. I don't know if everyone got the memo from me. Stop with all the pictures. If I want to see it, I'll go see it. 275 days on Realtor.com. Let's look at a property history. Sold in 2019. Been listed since 2018 off and on. Not good. Not good. 275 days on Realtor.com with a 4-car garage. It was built in 2011. I mean, that's nice little space there. I like the entrance. That's, I believe, from the entrance looking like when you first open the door, that's what you see. I think. Man, that looks nice. I like it because it's clean, if that makes any sense. And it looks like, it doesn't look like there's too much stuff. It's an interesting kitchen. It doesn't seem big enough for the house. I mean, if it's 20,000 square feet, shouldn't the kitchen be huge? Not a complaint, just an observation. Nice laundry room. Nice bathroom. I don't know. The door is over here and it's going that way. I would have preferred to see, not see, that doesn't give me anything. I am pro corner and not circle. I'm not pro circle. I get confused. This is nice. That's behind the theater room. I can tell. I think those are the chairs. So it's like a little bar, a refrigerator, and a wet bar, we used to call it. I don't know what they call it now. That's interesting. I don't know. I kind of like this house better than the other one. What do you think? I think I would take less acres for this house because it seems. Oh, is that another kitchen? And that's downstairs. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? Well, this ought to be interesting. 3.9 million on almost a 50-acre lot. This will be the last one. 77 pictures, not interested. 4-car garage, 117 days on the market, built in 2008, has 2 listings. I don't want to get into. It was sold in 2009 for 1.6, and now it's up for sale 11 years later. I'll look at the details, but hopefully. I'm just going to look at this, and it is what it is. So I don't know what that is. I don't need this. Not helpful. Oh, now are we in the house? $3.9 million they're asking for this on a 50-acre lot. It's the 50 acres that gets you the number. Is this evoking any sort of desire to move here? Is there anything in this house that says, I want to be a part of this? Why are you in the basement? Why is there a couch in front of a bed with a hump in it? Oh boy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It says 4. And then that's the room there. I've often thought if I had a property, I'd want to do something like this. Like just a general space where people could congregate. Like if we had, but see, this is like a business. There's different pieces of flooring or something over there. I mean, this is a stable, I guess. The grass is cut. All right. Let's go to one article. I feel bad I didn't get into our articles because I was concerned about inflation. I was concerned about an asteroid hitting the Earth. These seem like reasonable things. This is a negotiating tip. I want to just go over it from my perspective as an agent. It says acceptance time. It says patience makes, if they need time to agree, give it to them. It says a common mistake made in negotiations is that of impatience. We all seem to want everything quickly. Patience is becoming a lost virtue, and especially missing skill in most negotiations. So, as you proceed to the bargaining phase of a negotiation, are you including the all-important acceptance time? It's a well-known fact that people need time to adjust their thinking to anything new or different. We certainly need time to accept the disappointment in not getting exactly what we wanted. Our negotiating opponent is no exception. It says we shouldn't be impatient when we ask our negotiating opponent to make a significant concession. For a seller to accept a much lower figure or a buyer to significantly increase their price does and should take time. Give them that time. Good negotiators are sensitive to this process. I'm not, because that's not how my world works. I'll watch people every day of the week give me a counter and then say that the counter is rejected because they've found somebody else that gives them a better offer. Time is of the essence in real estate. I will give somebody, if I'm negotiating, I will give someone, if I'm representing the buyer, I will give them 24 hours to take a look at our offer and figure out what they want to. But then if they come back and respond like, nope, then, there's nothing there. If they come back with a counter, I don't expect 24 hours. I'm not going to drag a negotiation out a week. That's not the market we're in. Parties always seem to go into negotiation hoping to get what they want quickly and easy. That's rarely possible. Why would we think that moving from these kinds of positions could be accomplished in a heartbeat? Adding acceptance time to negotiation strategy just makes good sense. It says be creative when providing acceptance times. Good negotiators take a negotiation pause by saying they need to check something out, make a call, or crunch a few numbers. While we're attending to that task, we can be assured that our opponent will be reevaluating their position and even adjusting their expectations. They'll use that time to consider acceptance. Good negotiators know that some of the most effective negotiating takes place when there is a pause or break in the hard bargaining. That break provides for an all-important acceptance time. I don't know. I think it has to. I think this is too general of an article to really provide the insight necessary to negotiate a real estate contract in today's market. I mean, if the market was dead and you had only one buyer that wrote an offer, could you be, you'd be more conciliatory as a seller. You'd have to be, because of the perception the buyer could always walk. But I mean, if you can't do something in this day and age in 24 hours, that's too bad. Now, sometimes I have older clients that don't use email and I have to physically deliver all documents to them. I'll tell people up front, like if I'm representing the seller, I'll tell, I'll put it in the listing. Like, hey, I've got an older non-tech person and it's going to take a little while to get your information. But most people want, when you write an offer, okay, and you think you're the only person that wrote an offer as the buyer, and it stretches 24 hours, boy, at night it's hard to sleep because you have both excitement and fear for what you've just done. So to drag that out is kind of cruel and unusual punishment. Sellers, if they have to take a big concession, will feel the same way. Like, let's just get this over with. It's painful. I'd like to worry about other things. That's where I'm at today. I had nobody come in and play on the chat. It was very depressing, but if you're watching it later, which I know you guys do, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section. Don't worry about the chat now because it's going to be over. And let's get our community built. I'm totally okay with live streaming when I see people watching them afterwards, and I appreciate it. Just so you know, I appreciate it. I know we're busy. We're all busy. Last night I got to YouTube at like 9, and by 10 I was just wanting to go to bed. I mean, I literally only had an hour. And for you guys may have like, subscriptions, like 40 channels. Talking about real estate on a live stream may not be the top thing on your list, and I understand that. But thank you for watching. You really you helped me go forward, basically. Thank you. I will see you tomorrow morning, yes, at 9. And then Saturday we'll have to talk about it. I see houses coming in that my buyers are going to want to look at. I know I have a bunch of buyers to show stuff to on Saturday, and it's going to be tight, but we'll figure something